Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I am your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Pinellas Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. I am in the Extreme Studios. And on the line with me tonight from the Great Midwest is none other than himself, the man, the myth, the legend, RDV. Tonight we are continuing our Miami-centric themed movies as we're doing our Miami Nights stream where we're doing Miami Vice Season 1. And, RDV, we've been having a lot of fun talking about that show from the 80s. And one of the things that we do here on Extreme Movie Shows, we talk about how, like, there's some certain cultural themes, especially if you've lived the time and all that. And it's amazing because I have not watched this movie since it's been in the theaters for like about 40, 42 years now, 30, 32, whatever the number is, a generation ago. And in 1994, in the fall, when it came out, we had already had Speed with Keanu Reeves, who made him really, really big. And this is more of a cat and mouse kind of game where I'd forgotten how good the cast is in this movie, but how kind of a quiet, almost voyeuristic sort of movie it is, which I kind of like and thought Stallone did a good job in it. There's some interesting things about the specialist to get into and talk about. But I will tell you that for those of you that are young and haven't seen this or did not live through the 90s, I cannot tell you that when you hear like John Saccott, his mental picture at the beginning, he had already blown up. He was a background singer for Gloria Estefan, who plays Turn the Beat Around, which is a remake or redone. And the whole Gloria Estefan thing, that sound was big. And I kid with some people online about my Orlando Magic basketball team because I remember them through their infancy, and they have a Miami kind of sound to it that sounds a lot like this soundtrack. John Barry, by the way, means nothing to you, RDV, but he scored several James Bond films. He does the score, and I actually like it. But this is actually more dialed back kind of film, but it feels like a very 90s kind of film.
When I was scheduling this, I was looking up the director. Director is known as Luis Llosa. Do you know what he's famous for?
Nope.
Sniper with Tom Berenger.
Nice.
And he also Anaconda.
Are you serious?
Yeah, same director.
Hey, that's a triple threat right there. 3 good movies.
He also did Crime Zone in '89 or '88.
That.
That's it's a Peruvian science fiction stuff because he's from Peru. Are the Assassin with Robert Vaughn and Eric Estrada.
Robert Vaughn, God, he's good.
Yeah.
May have seen it. Who knows? Well, here's the thing with a specialist. When you're a specialist, like I've said before, one of the themes in the 90s is Miami's blown up now thanks to Miami Vice. It's the hot happening place. Stone literally moved down there. He still has a place there. Madonna as well. So it was hot. It was like the next big thing to people that did not know what Miami was. And it's a different Miami than it was back in the 80s and 70s. So what I like about 90s movies, RDV, and I think of you because you're the 90s guy and I'm the 80s guy, is that especially in the early to mid and maybe even late 90s, a little bit with action films, they were less about martial arts and more about a really, really big opening kind of gambit, a la James Bond.
Pyrotechnics,
exactly.
Drama, thrillers.
Trying to use a little CGI if you can, which is difficult at the time. But I've forgotten, and once I started watching it, I was in for a treat because we see that Stallone's 10 years earlier. He's on a mission, and he's on a mission not for God, but he's there with sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face of saying it. But he's there with James Woods. And ladies and gentlemen, James Wood is God tier, S tier, Sigma tier, whatever you want to call it. Dick. This guy is fantastic. He's very macho in your face, crazy. I love him. He's got that level to him that very few people have as an actor. He's tremendous. So he's actually still in superior. And what it is they're in Colombia or whatever it is. They're going to take out some random drug lord, and they go to so Stallone's setting the bombs on the bridge, and so a jeep's coming around. But of course, we have to put some humanity into it because Stallone's through the binocs, which is the effect I always love. It's still pop to these days. He goes, "Oh, we got a kid, so there's a little girl in there." And it's like, sorry, she's just along for the ride. You can't do that. And he runs off to it. It's like a preview of like cliffhanger of those things, right?
Remember last week how we talked about Assassins, how they changed it. Roger Donner wanted to change it, make it more human. They did the same thing in this too.
Yep.
According to Seros, Stallone was interested in doing this in a lonely and existential character. But Seros said that Stallone was interested in doing that, but he's like, at the last minute, they reverted to the action character, and Stallone's character was made more of a victim rather than a free agent, just like liking the Identity.
Yep.
Now, if you're a guy who specialist goes around and blowing up people, killing them people, don't make him sympathetic. You're a killer. I'm sorry.
You can argue that in a lot of different aspects, but the bottom line is most of the other people in here are worse, so it's kind of that relative
Sure.
scale in a way.
Yeah.
And
Who
one
do
of the
we, who do
reasons
you cheer
why,
for?
well, right, and it's Stallone, we're going to cheer for him. You have to. I picked this still out because this is such a simple effect, but it's done really well. This is where, after the explosion or like that, they start beating the shit out of each other, and this is, of course, them having a split, literally, which just means it's going to be a revenge thing. And there's more, there's a lot more layers to this. But look at the blood on his face, because while I was talking to him, it's literally dripping off his nose and all that. And I thought, this is a simple effect that you don't see anymore. You're outside in the sun, you're doing your fights or whatever like that. Obviously they're choreographed and all that, but it's
The
Stallone
blood
has
spray.
great intensity,
Yep.
but so does James Woods. Is just even better than Stallone when it comes to intensity.
Well, here's the thing about James Woods. Yeah, I agree. He does come off he's good at playing the bad guy, or at least the dickish kind of character. I like him in Vampires.
Exactly.
John Carpenter's Vampires. The kind of believes in there. He is pretty cool. He is James Woods. It's me. It's as cool as Lance Henriksen.
Yeah.
They're exact same character actors.
Yeah.
I love it. So it's like but I'm bring more James Woods as being the bad guy would have been fantastic, But
he is. But here's the thing with the bad guys. It's not like, to me, here's the thing with the film. You could argue that it's almost an erotic thriller, but not really, because there's a lot of voyeuristic stuff in here. Because honestly, there are some explosions, but this is more about tension leading up to the explosions. There's not a lot of gunfights, and that's the whole thing to this movie that makes it a bit different. And there's not one specific bad guy, even though technically Rod Steiger's the mafia king. It's really about him being hired through classified ads. They're just what they're called, bulletin boards, which are online. And it killed me when I saw 14.4 kilobytes. That's the dial-up modem speed back in the day.
Just want to clarify that he said Rod Steiger, not Rob Schneider.
Correct, Rod Steiger. Rod Steiger's great. He's the one that's like, you come in my house, you tell me this, I make the decisions. Do you understand? He's fantastic. So right after the introduction and all that, we get this beautiful at night sea breeze kind of situation. This is just right out of Miami Vice, where we see the setup of the characters. We're introduced to the other ones that are going to be pertinent to the story, which is typical storytelling here. And it's just miscellaneous drug dealing talk where they're getting ready to open a bank. Eric Roberts, for everybody that sees him in like Hallmark movies now, playing a shell of his former self. He's done like literally probably 200 films plus, but he plays a great fucking creep. It's fantastic. And what happens is here, Sharon Stone comes
a pretty boy, smug. Yeah.
But he's really good at it.
Of course.
And we know these kind of bad guys that, they're not quite douchebag dude bros, but they're so full of themselves. So what happens is we see Sharon Stone walk in, and she plays kind of like this scared looking blonde, and she looks absolutely phenomenal in this film too.
Yes.
They really did a great job making her look very sexy, but not negative.
Slim slick figure, the black dress, little black dress that hugs her figure.
Oh, we're gonna get to that because this one's the white linen one. And so what she's really doing is, that 10 years earlier, roughly time period, when she was a little girl, she got stuck in a closet because people broke into her father's house, and Eric Roberts had her parents whacked. And so she remembers that. So what she's doing, she's trying to seduce him to get revenge. But what's happening is that she's having this back and forth with Stallone about, trying to hire him to blow them up. And so they haven't met. They have, he's watching her, he's taking pictures, he's doing that Stone. So it's a lot of voiceover stuff. So it's like an old school kind of detective thing here in a way, which is kind of interesting way. You would think Stallone is going to be in your face, it's Miami, and this is a little bit more subdued to that. I mean, it's a great way to meet the characters, and we know each one of it is, but there's a lot of these bad guys that Stallone goes through till he gets to the final one.
I'm just grabbing it real quickly so they can see the photo of her, the dress. But it said Stallone, not Stallone, but Sharon Stone here is just fantastic here. For those who are fans of Sharon Stone, and or if you've never seen Sharon Stone, you're missing out on like the babe of the week, man. She's just freaking.
She'd already been a Total Recall at that point, and some other things.
Yeah. But it said, like I said, I like her outfits in this, basically her dress and stuff.
We'll pull up to another slide, and I'll move us forward through it.
Well,
so just a little bit later on, after they've had relations, and he thinks, Stallone does, that she's innocent and not going to turn him in, because that is a major theme. Is what's really happening is she's trying to get these guys killed, but we find out halfway through the film, before Stallone does, that she's actually working with James Woods to draw Stallone out as a part of a deal to get closer to Eric Roberts and Rod Steiger so she can kill them. That way James Woods can take over the business and actually take over Rod Steiger. They just don't lean into it too much because he plays like head of security. But yeah, she's this is peak Sharon Stone to me, this film, honestly. I know a lot of people like to say the one where she crosses her legs and all that, and decent,
Yeah.
or whatever that one was with Michael Douglas.
Basic Instinct.
Basic Instinct, right? Okay, I get it, but this one's just better to me. And to go from frightening little doe that allows herself to be picked up by a cocaine guy and
I'll just say
basically
this.
allows him to have sex with her so she can get closer to kill him. She does a great job in here of having a lot of different ranges with her emotions.
I gotta ask you, Sharon Stone or Heather Locklear?
Oh, Sharon Stone.
Definitely.
Yeah. Peak to peak, yeah, absolutely.
Heather Thomas or Sharon Stone?
Might be Heather Thomas.
Yeah, but yeah. So the reason I like this photo too, I found this on IMDb, is the fact that this is still in Miami nightlife, 90s, and kind of stuff you'd see back in the 80s, back in Miami Vice. So early 90s, still very much like the 80s. What's great about this movie is the fact that even though it's after renovations they were doing back in the projects, or at least the slum parts of Miami, you still get, it's still in that kind of like the era, the culture, where you still have a lot of this cool stuff like this.
Yeah, that hasn't gone away yet.
It hasn't gone away yet, though. So another slide I got here is Stallone working on a bomb.
Well, he starts wearing T-shirts, and you do that as a male when you get in your 40s and 50s. So I like him with the nerdy look here because it's kind of what he gives us. But here he is, he's working on a bomb that we would see. So he's got the soldering iron there on the right side of your screen there. He's got something here. And what's cool is you see him in a bar wearing like a Miami floral print and a jacket or whatever, and he's basically falling around taking pictures. So he's not really talking a lot. But what happens is the muscle guy that works for Eric Roberts, he's in a they're running a whorehouse out in the backside of a bar, and so he puts it on the door. So when the guy opens it, splat. And this is when James Woods gets reintroduced as Rod Steiger's head of security, who hates Eric Roberts. They don't get along, and he's like, "This is a great charge. This is done by a specialist because it only went here, didn't go out to the sides and all that, and it blew itself up." Very clever, and it doesn't really occur to him yet.
And it looks like he's working on.
He might know, or if even trained the person, Stallone, who did.
And it looks like he's working on a pager bomb. That's what it looks like, or a cassette bomb.
Just sticks to the door. Yeah, that's it. But it is very small. Yeah. God, I missed the soldering spool there of the tin there. Oh, that's probably what 61% one there I'm looking at, going old school.
He's in the warehouse. You got the chain link fence behind him. He's got the camera behind him with the zoom lens on the left. Yeah. And then he has the stairs going upstairs.
And the stray cat that just decides he wants to be around him. I don't know why they put Stallone with the cat. Makes no sense.
Because they want to soften him up, make him like a victim. He's a guy. Every victim has a cat.
Okay. Next slide, please. Why did you pick this one?
Because for Mother's Day, we missed our chance.
Mother's Day movies, it's hot. Yeah. Check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
Sharon Stone is phenomenal in this movie. I'm just gonna say, if you're a guy and you just say you're coming into your teens, you might want to watch this movie. It's coming of age, right? Of course, you chose this one.
So this is where they're talking or whatever about meeting, and she's basically like trying to entice him out and push further in and all that. So he's doing like this. It looks like katas because it's not yoga, because I know yoga.
He's shirtless and
he's doing his things while he's listening on his earpiece or like that. And she's kind of like doing something similar, and these body outfits. So I thought, I'd forgotten how Sharon Stone really very sexy.
They really highlight her curves. So, her lips. They get close up her face. You get a shot from the back. You get the ass and all stuff. They're like, they did not hold back on this. They just said like, it says 90s. We're doing erotic thrillers. Let's do this.
I think it already come out at this point with Bruce. Check the review on that. Now look at her legs on the outside. And I'm being serious. See how her legs are dark, but you have the white border, and you could see the bits of her hair and all that too with the lighting.
because
if you were to have a nude scene today in a movie, you wouldn't see the body. You would see it, but it would not be intimate and close up looking like this.
No,
at all.
No,
where you can actually
I need
appreciate
to be a
it.
dude.
And also, too, everything is color washed out these days, so it's like you won't see any wrinkles, you wouldn't see any pores. It doesn't matter if you got HD thing. This just makes a woman look better.
I also love the fact that back in the 90s, everyone had a studio apartment that was they looked like a abandoned factory they lived in.
Of course,
I love that. You know, 80s and 90s, it's like that's what we had. You know, we have a sliding door and stuff. You know, that's what they did. They had a loft. So it was, and then they have I love seeing studio apartments back in the day. So you know, because that's usually where they every erotic thriller, the guy has a nice penthouse thing where his bed's up the stairs, and then it's loft over, and you can see the overhang. You can see the bed up there, the railing stuff.
Yep.
And he has his kitchen and stuff. I just love that kind of setup.
So what's happening is after we find out that she's, feeling pressed by James Wood to lure him out. So, maybe she's being used herself here and can't let Stallone know that. James Woods had already introduced himself to the team because Rod Steiger goes to the police chief, says he's going to take the lead, gives him some money. So he shows everybody basically how to make a bomb and defuses it in a couple seconds because everybody else can't do it. And he is so fucking good as an actor. I know he's older now and people don't know who he is and he doesn't do much anymore, but he's just so tremendous in a role like this. It's I forget how good he is. Much how we like treat Williams in kind of like an affable, likable sort of way, or like you mentioned, the original Sniper with Tom Berenger in a quiet sort of way. James Woods is the opposite. He's so good, but in a very intense, threatening kind of way where you don't want to fuck with him. And here's the thing about James Woods. In real life, and I'm dead serious, dude is smart as a tack. Smarter than everybody he's ever worked with. He's
read his tweets. Brilliant. It's actually him. It's not someone running his account for him. It's actually him. And so it's like he's outspoken and he's smart, and it's that I just love that he brings that to his characters, and he's like that in real life too. So
when
I want to point out though, for anybody who was born after 2000, that's not what you're probably wondering what it is. That's a computer. It's not a flat monitor like you're born with in your little Palm Pilot or the guys had.
And that would be IDE interfaces there in the lower left there where you used to connect cables. That was such a fucking
as I said, the monitor's probably got IBM.
Well, it depends who they got the contract with. This is a low scan 720, so I don't know who that is. Well, here's the thing. One thing that reminded me how great he is, besides his intensity, is that there's this scene here. What they're trying to do is keep him on a phone for like a certain amount of time so they can trace him.
Trace him,
old payphones to make calls. And so when he reveals himself and he starts ripping him in front of everybody's listening because he's on speaker there about, you get off, killing people makes you, like you're jerking off and all this kind of stuff. It's the only time when he really gets upset and speaks a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
He fucking loses it. And you see him literally yelling basically at the monitor, and you forget that they're not face to face. Like, oh man, if you're an actor and you got everybody around you and you have to make like you're arguing with that intensity in front of a thing where nobody's there, that's not easy to do.
No, and plus I love the fact he plays the type of roles because these people exist. So these people are like, they want control in their results and they're mad because things are not going their way, and then they finally have to do their own work, and it's like they're incompetent at their job. And I like his performance in this. Like I said, I just love the fact that this is you brought up they're tracing his call with payphones. I gotta get you to watch The Wire, bro. I just finished the first season, and they're using payphones and pagers, man. I love it, and they got the flip phones, but it's 2002. So I just love it, man. But yeah, I said the big monitors like this, those things are a beast, and then the old school office chairs from the 80s. You see them in Die Hard, the ones you throw out the window.
Well, actually, too, if you look at the keyboard there next to the person's glasses, that was cutting edge at the time to have that knob that you could turn in and use.
Yes. Yes. For scrolling.
All right, next slide.
All right. I chose this because I just love the convertible. You got the bridge there. I'm not sure where the bridge is in Florida but it reminds me of the bridge.
There's a main one that goes across, that you see where there's a wharf. That's where we see in Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And then that's also
Isn't
goes
it the
over
Glades?
to it goes off and it curves around to Key Biscayne where there's a tennis center and a big
Oh,
natural park and all that too. And around there's like Star Island, Hibiscus, and all those kinds of ones that you see like in a transporter and everything. All that is right around this
she's
area.
also got the flip phone, cell phone,
Cell phone,
and
flip phone.
he's got the earbud that connects into the phone jack.
Well,
What?
this is at the very end where they're getting ready to trace where he's at, so
Yeah.
she can basically turn him in, and she's trying to tell him, remember what we said together in the hotel? Remember the last thing I said to you?"
Yeah.
And she had written down on a little Post-it note, "I'm a woman you can't trust." So basically, whatever she was telling him was the
Yeah.
code for "Don't believe it." So that
Yeah.
means she's under the influence of him at this point.
Spirit,
So
yeah, Spirit.
yeah,
So they'll know it's a
so yeah,
trap.
this is such a great classy
But
dress.
I love the fact that you said I said, "Oh, her outfit into this." Man, they just did not hold back whatsoever. They knew that she's a leading lady, that she's got sex appeal. Back in the 90s, you know what? It was called they call it misogyny. I call it letting a woman who's beautiful let her be beautiful. You know, I hate when people tell me it's like, whoa, no. It's like you can't show off anyone. A woman looking like a beautiful woman. You're objectifying her. It's not you're not objectifying a woman if she agrees to be paid. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Plus, it says it would make sense to have someone in a burqa in Miami. Hot 80 to 90 degrees.
Well, no,
So
but I mean,
like I said, the car back in the day too. It's just I just love all this stuff. But
well, her outfit, okay, cocktail dress, evening.
yes,
She was wearing a lot of white earlier, and then they had relations.
yep,
Now she's wearing black. I don't
yep,
know if that's intentional, but here's the thing: she's a really good actress. She plays off very subtly in here. She doesn't come across as very powerful like she does and stuff. So Sharon
yep.
Stone's got some chops. One thing about her is like if you look at her chest, for example, and I'm being serious, if she had huge tits or boob job or her cleavage was showing, you'd be
She's all natural.
distracted. But when she's dressed like this, she's a beautiful woman, but it's not distracting you. We're not focusing on her
No,
face and the
it's
look of distress that she's got or the scene itself. Same thing with the car. And that's why I say when I talk about suits in Columbo and old stuff and TV shows, a good
Sh-
suit is on somebody you don't
Sharon
recognize
Stone
because it
is
makes you look at their face. Here you're
Sharon.
looking at her entire figure.
She's known for her legs and her face. That's what she was known for in Basic Instinct. I saw her in Total Recall.
Yep.
As I said, she's a good-looking woman. She's not afraid to show it off. She's not. Being objectified. Nowadays, people only make, as I said, people make these bullshit excuses. Well, we can't show any skin now. It's like,
They can.
okay,
Choose not to.
but then we're like, we'll have okay. Then Aquaman comes out and he's like almost in a speedo, and like, oh, that's fine though. It's like what? I don't know, but I'm sorry for those who are offended by guys lusting over hot babes, because
Well,
I'm
even
throwing
if
this
it's
in
not
there,
lusting, it's
admiring the
only
woman's
his man
beauty.
is sexy.
Yeah,
It's gotta be sexy, right?
I-
And this is when she's talking to him about, like, really wanting to meet and all that too. She's not afraid to smoke, because
yeah,
smoking was basically dying out in television shows and movies at this time,
yes.
and she's got classy, lingerie on here too. She's a woman that's definitely comfortable in her body, and I appreciate that as a,
Those old wicker
strong
chairs,
beauty
I
watcher.
hate those things. So uncomfortable,
Yeah. That's old school Miami look right there. Give me
right?
another slide. We're getting towards the end, I think. There's 1 or 2 more I think I know that I picked. I
Yep.
don't know
Then
that
there's
I don't
the
know what
whole bed scene. She's in the stocking, the whole lingerie stuff, and
So
just
when they go off, they manage to escape because there's this actual incredible scene where they're in a hotel and she comes downstairs and Eric Roberts is onto her and she's basically trying to buy time. Well, he's here in a hotel. Well, I've got a car. I've got my, the key here and all this and that. So they're up there. And if you watch the film, you see it because it's an angular hotel where it gets actually farther and farther out the higher you go. And what's cool is the entire level of these bad guys walk in a room with James Woods there, and you see it as the bombs are going off. The whole level of the hotel falls down into
do
the
you
ocean.
recognize the buildings in the background?
I'm sure that's just a projection, and this is just a whatever, but I would believe it's a projection off of Miami because I assume
Okay.
this would be north of the
Studio.
area we're talking about, Ocean Beach Drive and all that stuff there, probably from there. So I don't know that that's the fountain blue that looks staggered.
Or
I don't know.
Is it a
But that's the
studio?
Miami
Is it
downtown,
like
huh?
the Conan O'Brien, where they have a studio and then they have the printed
Oh,
background
anything
photograph
like this
going up?
usually is a projection, but they usually take a
Yeah,
big, high detailed of the area you're in or use stock and project it, right?
yeah,
So this is when they consummate the relationship or whatever too, and of course, they don't hold back. They go a couple minutes because they're in the shower going at it. I'm like, "Man,
yep.
Stallone's really doing it."
Warning: you'll see Stallone's bare
Why is
butt
that's not
cheek.
a warning? Just
What
he's
that?
nude, so what? Women like to see men's ass.
Well, I'm just letting people know.
Are you
Okay.
offended?
No, in case they want to pause. Okay.
Well, here's the thing, what's offensive in there? Because while they're making out with the water going on, and I will say this, hey, to each their own, no matter how you identify or choose not to, or what activities you partake in for pleasure, physically speaking, or if you
Practice
combine them with
safe.
others. But when you're in a shower, overrated, and you don't lay down where the water's going to drain and pump her full of it, if you know what I'm saying. Not, I just
Pumper
I
full
saw
of
that
love.
they really went for it in
Okay.
here. Yeah. So that's my gripe
All
about
right.
that scene wasn't his
All
ass. It was
right.
the
And
fact
then
they
we
were
go
just
to the
laying down
best
in a
scene.
pile of their own fluid.
Joy, happiness. And then we go to the best part of the movie. Just this cup is the best part of the whole entire movie. I love this cup.
Beefcake cheesecake. So I this popped me because I forgot that, you know, when you're in Miami, it's a big retirement area, like a lot of Florida is. So they're
Yeah.
at some rich villa or
Yep.
some retirement place where and it's a giant open pool. People dive in and swim in. And the bomb, a bomb he was making, that we didn't really see. We saw the other one was a different bomb. He's dressed up in tennis outfits with the shorts and the polo and the racket, and I'm laughing my ass off going,
It's
"I
you.
love it." And he's laying there, and, he's just kinda looking around with his glasses, and this is where you see Eric Roberts go in to one of the poolside villas that are right there really close, right next to the pool, and so what happens is that he walks up and he switches out the ceramic, coffee cup and plate with the one as his own that's a bomb, so when you lift the cup off the plate, it explodes, right?
Uh-huh.
So they're willing to send first class, so that's a bougainvillea right behind it, and he goes into the little room there, but as soon as he goes in there, he sees Sharon Stone walk in there, and then it explodes, so he thinks she's dead. She's not, of course, blah, 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 and it's look, if you think about the movie honestly and the plot and some of the stuff, it's kinda dumb, but the movie you're just watching 'cause it's like Miami Vice, there's a feel to it. This movie captures that feel. It's not a Michael Mann production, but it
No.
feels like Miami, and so I just thought this is really cool and like a nice little way of kind of feeling it out, and that's what made this movie interesting was this, like, little cat and mouse stuff where he's not just throwing dynamite sticks or bombs or like that or tossing a
Yeah.
grenade, right? It's, "How do I make this bomb, and how do I know what he's gonna use?" "Well, put it with the coffee cup." This I like this. This is the kind of stuff you get in high-end resorts.
Right. Yeah. Of
Living
course.
on a
Then we got the last
budget.
thing here. Still there?
Yep, I'm here. Okay, well, it just popped up. So for me,
Okay.
so Eric Roberts' muscles been wiped out in the with the door bomb. Then you've got Eric Roberts just got wiped out by the coffee bomb. Then you've got James Wood basically going at it with Sharon Stone. They go to the place. They have basically kind of supposed to be a shootout, but it really ends up being a bomb off because he's got his own place wired, and it works. And they manage to escape basically. But right before we see that Stallone and Sharon Stone escape, this is Rod Steiger, the head mafia guy that seems like he's the last one standing, who orders all the executions. He chews up every scene. "You guys, you dog." He's like Scarface on steroids, right? And he's a great actor in his own right. This guy is not a lightweight by any means. He really plays the role well in
Yeah.
here. But what happens is he gets a little letter and while he's getting the letter, he puts it down because he's reading the old school newspaper that says these three names, and it's the names of the characters, fallen dead and whatever. So he looks up and he just goes, "You are a kind God," like, you know, like, "You're looking out for me," right? And then he puts the paper down, then he opens up the mail thing, and as soon as he does, boom,
Boom.
because it's like a bomb with a piece of mail. And then that's when you hear Gloria Estefan playing, and they're driving off in an old sports car like that convertible, and they're making out while they're
Yeah.
driving. It was the thing
And
in
he,
the
and
90s.
he keeps and he keeps looking at her and somehow not like crashing.
Right, exactly. Because what you don't see when that happens is whenever I want to make out with my wife and I'm driving, I just make sure it's attached to the stunt car in front of me that has the cameras on it, you
Uh,
know? So then that way the road's also closed off too, because how else are you going to do it?
I grabbed another. I found another still. I think this is the one I was in behind the hotel. So this is I'm trying to remember what part of Miami this is.
That's the same spot. That's the elevated train. That building, I believe, we see in Miami Vice at some point. I think when every year Miami Vice changes opening credits with some of the shots. I think that's in the later season.
It looks like a Reebok or something like that. Or that's
well, it's lighting up a building that way was starting to become new. So I think it was in 94, actually. It might have been the same year, in the early 90s to mid 90s. Orlando, where, I don't claim to be a resident of because I'm on the outskirts, is they blew up City Hall at the time, and that was what they used in the second Lethal Weapon with the whole setup there. I think it was Joe Pesci. So all these downtowns are getting reshaped with some of these skyscrapers and the lighting and stuff. So that this is all in the exact same area.
Yeah, I was just trying. I think I'm trying to that one of the red letter on it. I'm trying to because I know Reebok and all that stuff were really popular back then. So
no, that's going to be a bank, and the thing is banks were
Roth Bank. Was it Roth?
Oh. I can't really read it.
What was the one in the 80s they had? The one they're going into, wasn't it the R? And they became an international bank later on.
Could have been RBC. I'm not sure, or Roth maybe. I don't know, but Roth is a type of investment vehicle. But no, there's a lot more banks and buildings, and they've been consolidated since the 90s. So you saw a lot of bank buildings like that.
So you want to know if you've ever watched a Stallone movie? This is a scene in every movie. Him on a payphone. I literally every Stallone movie. I guarantee you, if I get clipped together, you'll have a montage of him just being on a phone. So
I like it.
Yeah. Right.
Well, one of the things we've talked about since the 80s was we talked about Commando for Father's Day. That's the turning point where everything turned to be explosives and big, and not really martial arts, unfortunately. This would not stop. But what I do like about Stallone's transition going into this time now in the 90s is that he would play more roles like this.
Tango Cash, Good Guys stuff,
And even though Total Recall had come out already a couple years earlier and Schwarzenegger was still making movies, he was getting a Kindergarten Cop. He was transitioning into other roles as well. And that was something in the 90s that grown up seeing some of these actors since the 70s, but definitely in the 80s. It was notable because the movies were different. What people seemed to want was different. How things were portrayed was a lot cleaner and less intense, in my opinion, especially in the 90s. It was sanitized even more than the 80s, certainly more than the 70s. And, the things that were hot in pop culture, like the Miami scene, the New York sound coming down from New York down to Miami because of the Latin connection and everything too. And from the West Coast coming over here to the East Coast, all that's valid. And, I lived it here in Central Florida, and, where you're at in the Midwest, I don't know if cultural things pop up later. It's hard for me to say that. Usually things
define culture things.
Well, pop culture, like what you see in movies, like for example, smoking was everywhere, right? Then after the 80s, gone, right? People still smoke. Drugs were always around, but now
smoking was allowed in bars here until oh my gosh, till 2007, I think it was 2009. You're allowed to smoke in bars, and then Wisconsin decided, we're gonna pass things so you have to smoke outside. I'm like, why? It should be up to the business to decide what they want. If it's a bar, you're going there to smoke and drink. Well, and I still say that if you're a restaurant, you should be allowed to have smoking if you want to, or no smoking.
It's not up to you. It's up to the codes that are set by
which I think is so dumb. Telling you what you can do. Yeah,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah, as long as the cook's not dropping ash into my steak while he's cooking, it's like I'm fine. Hey, plus it adds a little bit of flavor. Man, most of the people who hate smoking wouldn't survive back in the airplanes back in the day. They would have cried and just never came out of their house.
Yeah, food is good.
Yeah.
But some of the human things like sex and violence and eating and drinking and smoking, the primal stuff, that's been so sanitized in the 90s and everything else there too. So you wouldn't have some of the stuff now in TV shows that just then people say, well, what about the sex scene in this? And what about this and that? Or
I gotta ask.
They're not sexy. It's like fake sex.
Did Elizabeth Taylor ever play like the jaded woman, the woman who basically couldn't trust her?
Who
Because like
did what now?
Elizabeth Taylor, because Sharon Stone reminds you of the way Elizabeth Taylor looked and stuff, and Sharon Stone was known for playing the untrusty woman, or
Well, the femme fatale. This goes back
yeah,
to the 30s and 40s,
yeah.
the blonde, you know.
Like Lusso, like I said, can you imagine it with Bogart and and his
Oh,
girl
yeah.
and Lauren Bacall? Because that just reminds you of like Lauren Bacall or Elizabeth Taylor or any of those women back in the day. Sharon Stone has that look. She was born with that look, and she played well into these movies.
I
Yeah,
agree. I think she's like a natural beauty. I mean, at the time, to me, I still while I enjoyed her, I think Diane Lane is a level above, especially in the 90s.
Diane Lane, Unspeakable, I think it was, or Unfaithful. That's what it was. Unfaithful.
Yeah. Wow. But here's the thing. It just when you think of like an older starlet like you're talking about there, and this is here, you were talking pop culture. This is something I'll bring up. The old studio system created stars. So there were less actors, generally speaking, in
Yeah.
films, but you had some that were the bankable stars, and they were always looking to make one. The problem is now because of the way TV movies are, and there's much more volume of it, everybody thinks they're a star because they're acting or they're doing something, but they're not stars like a Frank Sinatra has been, or some of your early performers that broke out big, like Elvis, or in the 60s, like the Beatles, even though it was a short window of time. There's not those iconic type stars. So with a Liz Taylor, who'd been notorious for being married time, she was Cleopatra, her and Richard Burton's affair and all that kind of stuff. That was scandalous, big time Hollywood stuff. Very few actors or actresses today have that kind of cachet anymore because everything's kind of watered down. We're a lot more closer to them. We know more about who they are and everything too. And instead of just watching what we want to know them for, now we listen to their tweets. Now we listen to interviews. Now we hear about, well, I want to change the film to this. I want to have input on that. And it's like, okay, whose vision are we doing with it? Is it the studios where everybody checks the box, otherwise you get no funding because that's how most everything is today, or is it an artist's vision? When I mentioned John Barry scoring James Bond films and doing the score here, but yet you modernize it with the Latin sound of the 90s and Gloria Estefan, whether you like her or think she's authentic or not. I mean, that's legit. The jazz singer at the beginning, I think, was one of her backup singers. I don't know her, but that's old school adult jazz.
You know who I would have loved to see on screen, working together would have been Nicolas Cage and Sharon Stone, especially like not 80s Nicolas Cage, the current Nicolas Cage when he started doing all these so I think it was Stranded or something or Stolen, doing all this stuff, the heist stuff. I would have loved to seen him dealing with her, someone he can either as an ex-wife or because people. So looking up this movie, the reviews about this movie, someone had a problem. They said that, oh my gosh, the chemistry between Sharon Stone and Stallone was horrible. That they actually won a Raspberry in 2015 for this. I'm thinking like they're saying this is Stallone won the worst picture ever for 2000. I'm thinking like these people are idiots. It's a good movie. That's why it made money. Just because you hate it now means nothing. At the time people loved it. But I don't know. But Siskel and Ebert's like, Siskel, I think it was Siskel said like, oh my gosh, this movie was so bad. It's like, it was like Speed and Blown Away, except that this has the good guy being the bomber. And I'm thinking like, you don't like Speed and you don't like Blown Away?
People love Speed. Speed was good.
I can't remember. I can't remember which one was what one was fat. Was it Ebert? Or was it Siskel? All I know is that
Ebert was the calorically challenged individual, and the other one.
Oh my gosh! I'll say this: Siskel and Ebert. Every time I look up a movie and it says they don't like it, I've noticed. I'm like, yeah, they're full of shit. They get paid to hate on things.
No, I disagree completely. Most people that reviewed films, honestly, and this is again going back to the 90s kind of throwback, they really attempted to try to say what's the movie trying to do, and is it successful in doing so?
Well, this is what I've learned.
You can like it or not, but that's a taste thing, right? So that's kind of the thing that
it's. Well, I was gonna say this.
Agree with you on it. Something doesn't make money because it's good. Something makes money because people spend money on it. People spend money on all sorts of stuff that's shit. Okay, but if they spend money on it, that's
It,
their choice. So how much it makes isn't really kind of
well,
associated with how good it is.
if
It's
people
not.
keep going back and forth and they keep watching it, that means that it's very popular. Therefore, it's a good movie to them. It's just that you may not like it, being a contrarian.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
Titanic
it's
was a
and
great
that
movie,
yeah.
but when you look at it in terms of how it's produced and
I
how it's
watched
made,
it. It was okay,
phenomenal
but
movie
I'll never
in that
watch it
regard.
again. It's way
But it
too
was a
long.
cultural phenomenon.
Yeah. Like I watched John Wick. I'll never go back and watch again. I watched Iron Man. I liked Iron Man when it came out, but I tried to watch it again. It was too slow paced and it was boring.
Yeah, the
You
older
know?
you get, the more your attention span with that stuff's actually worsening, which is surprising. Most people, when they get older, it goes the opposite direction. That's one thing I've noticed with you, generally.
Well, I live all different kind of genre stuff. I said I like faster paced movies.
Mhm. You do?
I don't like when stuff's stretched out. Especially when it could be like Disney does this all the time. They're doing a TV show and instead of it could be like an 8 they rushed stuff. I don't like when it's too rushed. Like where I've also seen where they also stretch out too. Where it could be like a 6 episode or a 4 episode and they stretch it out to 6. So they get that even number of episodes, and then it's like, man, you put so much filler in there. You could have just short take this out there, and it would have been done. It would have been perfect. But instead, you put this whole bloated scene that didn't need to be in there. So I mean, I try not to be too picky at movies. I said because a lot of times I find stuff that I just enjoy, and I'll say this: people get mad because like, well, I shouldn't have to turn my brain off to watch a movie. Bro, if you're overanalyzing a movie, you're not enjoying it. You're overanalyzing. You're trying to look for things that could be wrong. You know, like
Well,
just
some people like doing that.
and that's the thing though. It's like, well, you're gonna find a lot of stuff you're not gonna like. Then, you may find a few, but it's like those people. I said a lot of those people become curmudgeons, as our friend Eric Breen likes to say. And the
Well,
point,
the other thing
yeah,
too is there's a lot of shit out there, and
there
it's
there
it's
is
not that
there
there's a lot
is,
of
but there's
shit.
also a lot of good stuff too.
That may be true, but what I will say is that because there's so much product out there in terms of hours of screen time and all that, a lot of it's
And
being made now with AI. It's being made with groups of writers rather than a team or an individual.
yeah,
So they've even gone so far as to basically say, "Hey, you just don't like us or our company, so you're giving us a bad rating. So we're not going to allow you to give your opinion on
yeah,
sites because you're stupid. You don't know what the movie's about."
yeah.
It's gotten to where the audience member, if you think about it, I think we may both agree on this, is that we're treated as stupid and dumb because we don't get what they're trying to do, as opposed to going, "No, dumb fucks, all you need to do is this, and I'll
So
give you money and be
I
entertained."
want to point out this. I've noticed that is that there's a lot of focus on the bad stuff. It's because they're pushing it. Hollywood's pushing certain things. They push the bad movies, and the good movies, well, a lot of times will not get the push. And that's been for a long time. God, they've been doing this, especially more. That's just more apparent now because there's a lot of crap they're putting out, pushing. I agree. There's a lot of bad movies, but I think it's more like a psyop because they push all the bad movies. So we'll come across a good movie. It's just that why didn't this get the theater? Because it was straight to DVD movie or straight to streaming, and it sometimes is better than what's out. Like I said, I like the movie we reviewed earlier. Rip It. I think it was called. I think that was called The Rip with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. That was actually
Oh,
that
okay.
was better than a lot of the stuff I've seen come out this year.
Yeah, but nobody even knows it exists.
Well, they
Despite
did for a
right?
week.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of stuff gets pumped and dumped, and then you forget about it, and then or it's where it doesn't get the advertisement, doesn't get and some people can say, well, that's why the movie flew off because I'm like, no, sometimes it's just movies just don't go to theaters. Instead, they just because a lot of people realize like they can make more money streaming than they can doing theaters,
Absolutely.
and
So where
especially
you go
because
goes
they make movies for
yeah.
streaming, which I think is much more ideally now because theaters are dead. They've been dead for the past 15 years, almost 10 years, really, because unless you're gonna okay, people came out and saw Barbie. Okay, cool, because you know why? Because that's Barbie. That's the first of its movie. But had it been like Barbie 15 or Barbie 3, they're not coming out for that. Avatar 3,
See
I think
that.
yeah, I think Avatar 3, um I think a lot of that just basically was made from streaming. I don't think it was from theaters.
Well, here's the thing. And this is something that happens in business practices. I think people may know about it, but let's say I've got $100 million movie out there, big, huge kind of movie. Although that's not an exorbitant salary for a movie, right? But let's say, I'm getting reviews. The movie's gone digital. It's in all the theaters. First of all, you're paying off all the people and the influencers to tell you that it's good. So that's your advertising budget, which is blown up. I've been to many places here in Central Florida on opening night, Friday afternoon, let's say Friday evening, and I know people in theaters here for my entire adult life that get me in to see things and all that too. So I've been privileged over the years to see things on a first come basis, right? Best seat in the house, first showing, all that stuff. So for some movies, that's exciting because it feels like an event, right? And that's the excitement that makes you want to enjoy the movie and the experience. But when you get into the huge, giant IMAX screen, and you've got 5 people sitting around you, yet when you see in the papers or on the internet that, it made X amount of million per week, who's to say the company that I own didn't turn around and just buy all the tickets, even though to make it look like a sellout. So I'm reinvesting my own product. So the hype lasts for the second and third week to get people out, because all they measure is the first 2 to 3 weeks of the, that's like 90% of a movie's gross. It used to not be that way because it would play longer. But since that's one of the gifts the 90s gives us, besides this movie and other themes we'll talk about as we do more 90s movies, is that the business of movies and how it became unaffordable and more about numbers chasing rather than at least giving the fake impression to the people wanting that you want to take your money from, that you care about it. That started in the 90s, bro.
I want to ask this: who's going to pay $20 or almost $20 for 2 people to go, or $24 or $30 for popcorn and 2 people to go watch a movie for 3 hours and 15 minutes and actually sit there and not have to pee and get up in the middle of it? I mean, if you're doing that and you're not even watching the movie, why even there? Watch it home streaming. It's just blowing my mind. It's the rationality of someone who sit there for 3 hours and 15 minutes to watch Avatar for prettiness, blue people and all this stuff on there. And like 3 hours and 15 minutes, man. It's like watching a football game and never going to the bathroom.
Well, you have passionate people, and Avatar has its own fan base due to the messaging and all of Avatar.
Here's the thing: I can be so hooked into a movie, but once I reach that 2.5 hour movie, I think if I had a soda beforehand, it's like being in a car ride for 2 hours. You gotta go. It's like, and I was like that when I was like 20s. That's nothing because I've acted in my 40s now. It's nothing with that crap. It's like, I'm just thinking like 3 hours, like, man, and you're wondering why people aren't going to theaters. If you're putting out 3 hour movies, people are just realize I can stay at home, watch it come from out of my bed and pass out of my bed, or a couch, where do you want to do that instead of speaking?
All I'll say is Cameron in 3 hour movies, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. No one's going to care.
Well, yeah, because they're going to keep paying it for him, whether it flops or not. They're going to pay him money.
That shit's making money.
Yeah.
He prints.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not knocking Avatar 3 quality. I'm just saying it's like, if you're going to watch an Avatar movie, just watch it at home. You don't need to watch it on the big screen. I think people are like, I hate that argument. You can experience it on the big screen. Does it change the movie for you? Does the movie have extra scenes?
It does. Maybe not extra scenes, but
so you're saying if you saw Sharknado on the big screen, you'd like it more.
Why you said Sharknado
or Mad Dog's Time? Like I said, I watch Ghostbusters. Hey, I love Ghostbusters. I love
things were made for the big screen.
I love Jurassic Park. I love Ghostbusters, but I like at exact same experience at home versus watching in the theater.
I would disagree.
Oh no, I watched them both in theater, and I had the exact same experience at home. The only difference at home is that I could pause it and go use the bathroom.
I just know that when I would go to the movies, it was a better experience because the people were having fun as well, and the prints was a lot better. But to your point, I'll say this as we close up. In the 90s, when films started getting digital and that became more of a thing, the lighting on them is horrible, so the movies are very dim when you watch them, and a lot of it had to do with the technology up there with the machine. Where
I'll agree. If you're watching it versus 70s and then versus 90s and later on, yeah.
But The Fugitive, watching that like on a big screen or IMAX back in the 90s, 100 times better than watching.
Oh my gosh, I watched that movie
HD TV.
So I watched that new movie Twister. It came out. Well, it's not new anymore, but it came out like 2 years ago, whatever. I watched it at theater, and it has this.
You already saw the movie.
They had the panorama screen where they put the movie here, and then they have it on the sides too. So they film it that way, so it goes like this. You're looking at the wall.
Uh-huh.
And it was the most stupidest thing ever. I'll never go back and watch a movie like that. I was like, this is dumb. Because then I'm like turning my head to look at like this. And as it is, you're laying down too, remember? Because you have the freaking things. So you're like this, and they're trying to look. I'm like, I don't want to move my head to follow the freaking thing. How about you put it right there?
Well, whether you like it or not, or I do or I don't, or anybody, the point is definitely by the 90s.
They're trying to lay things out. That's all.
No, what's going on here, besides the shittiness of content, is theaters and other people tried, and they've ignored. There's no expression. The thing is the thing, and it's always the thing, And what happens is when you go away from the thing, you fuck up. So the thing is the quality of the movie, trying to make a good movie. The problem is when you go, well, because we need to charge more to make our money, we're going to now put in leather seats in some of our IMAX screens, but not the other ones. We'll make those screens big, but the other ones really small. And they'll get the bean counters to maximize the revenue and profit and all that. But what it is it's taken away the experience of going and the excitement of seeing a film on opening night or weekend for the week or during the week, or God forbid the drive-in, which used to be a thing, which people probably don't know, young kids don't know much about today.
I'm the worst
and
person.
Ruining the experience for the viewer by degrading the quality in all forms in terms of content, the price, the this or that, by not having people police and kick people out when they're on their phones or screwing around or talking or going in late and locking the doors. That's why you're chasing off your marks, which is us giving you money. But here again, to the point, and this is the big disconnect of sports and the movies and just general content, is this: the money comes from other companies, not from individual consumers. So therefore, the individual consumers' thoughts and needs do not matter. That's why concert revenue is non-existent or whatever. You and I talked about this backstage with wrestling, and it's like that with sports. It has nothing to do with the individual viewer anymore. It's about corporations and all that. And the 90s were notorious for this changing in sports and in pop culture when it comes to movies and music and everything else there too. Final thoughts.
I'll just say this, the last thing before we leave here. I noticed as I get over the years, I get older, I prefer to watch movies by myself. I just have my headphones on and just watch it. Versus being in the theater, because like I said, I've never liked, even when I was younger, I did not like going opening nights. It's crowded, people talked, and people with popcorn. It's like, come on, it's just like, and then and I said, nowadays, especially people in the past 30 years, people have been on phones in theaters. They don't turn them off, and people laughing, and says it's like I just want to hear the actual audio and stuff too. And it's like, now I'll say this: Jurassic Park. I'll give you this. The audio is different than watching at home, but here's the thing now. We now have that surround sound at home. So it's the theaters are becoming obsolete because we now have the huge TVs. They sell projectors too now. You can have.
Well, it's like saying you can stay home and pleasure yourself and not need a woman, I mean.
Well, it's like, I'd rather do that at home than risk getting arrested like Pee Wee Herman did, but I mean, like, theaters are nice, but you know what? I'd rather go watch on the outdoor theater.
Yeah, smaller, more intimate venues. I'll close with this. The last great experience I had in a theater was last summer in July. Sometimes they do like classic movies at certain movie theaters here in Central Florida. And I met with a group of friends I've known since I was a kid. We went out, we had dinner, and we went to this small little theater that must have been 100 years old. And we watched, and I'm not joking when I say this, no commercials, no bullshit. Everyone was quiet. Everyone was kind of older. There's some younger people too that wanted to see what the buzz was about, all the nerds and stuff, because gaming's a popular thing, right? We saw Flash Gordon, and it was fucking phenomenal. And I'm going, man, when you used to go to the movies back in the day, no matter how bad the movie was, it still felt good to watch it there because just the attitude people have. And you're right. Everyone's attitude sucks today. They don't give a shit. That's why it's a bad viewing experience, plus all the other reasons. So it's no wonder, to your point, they're dying. I agree with you in that regard, big picture-wise. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for The Specialist. Like I say, it's on Extreme Movie Show. We never really talk about what we're going to say. It just kind of happens. So we usually talk the film. We talk about how it's related to other things you guys bring up and mention to us, stuff that's might be going on at the time we scheduled it, reasons why we did it. So we're very loose with our schedule. We go by feel. except for around Halloween, where we try to focus more on Halloween type movies and, of course, recommendations. So we always appreciate when you guys give us feedback. Of course, retweeting so more people can join and see us live.
Commenting down below, let you know it's not in the movie. If you could do agree with us, disagree with us, give movie recommendations.
Yeah, stuff that you
as long as it's not like Odyssey or anything really.
Well, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern, live here on the Extreme Movie Show. We're continuing season 2 of Forever Night. We've got Superfan Kevin Dobson and several others from the online Facebook groups for Forever Night. Thank you guys for joining up. Thank you for the few followers that decided to join this week. Hey, I think I'm breaking 90 followers now on Twitter there, sir. You know, which pales in comparison to your 400 or 500. And certainly, I'm not even a blue check guy. But it's always nice because that's what makes it fun, is talking about it. But then if it becomes that kind of a conversation because you guys are involved as well. Anything else, RDV?
Nope, that's it. So guys, subscribe, hit the like button, do all the fun stuff, and we'll see you on tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for Forever Night. Then stop back here on Sunday for at 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern.
Good night now.
For Milk Run. Forever Night crossover.
Exactly. There's a reason. Skanky's in it.
Yes. Skanky Milk Run. Right.